It's time to review Dust, an Elysian Tail for the Xbox 360. Dust, an Elysian Tail is the long-awaited brainchild of well-known animator and programmer Dean Dodrill. Dust was originally shown at the 2009 XNA Dream Build Play event, where games developed with the XNA engine were showcased and the best game would win its creator $40,000 and earn a place on Xbox Live Arcade. Dust won the event, giving Dean an extra $40,000 to work with and the chance to release it on XBLA. After 3.5 years of development, Dust was finally released on Xbox Live Arcade in August 2012 to much critical acclaim, with the particular point of praise being how a single man developed a game easily comparable to any big-name titles. I was one of the people who had been waiting to play Dust for a very long time after hearing about it in the XNA contest, and after so long, it's finally time to see if the wait is worth it. In the middle of a dark forest, a mysterious cyan-colored fox thing named Dust is awoken by a strange talking sword named Ara, followed by a cute little nimbat called Fidget. When he wakes up, Dust realizes that he has no memory of who he is, or anything else for that matter, all except for his name and a staggering amount of combat expertise. Confused by all this, Dust decides to travel out into the world with Ara and Fidget in order to discover his true identity, which may be far more important than he realizes. Dust, an Elysian Tail is a hybrid between a hack and slasher and a Metroidvania-style gameplay, the latter being a 2D platformer in a free-roaming world where you can use certain items or abilities to access areas you couldn't get to before. You jump with the A button, attack enemies with combinations of X and Y, fire small energy attacks by pressing B, and can use the Dust Storm, a special attack that sucks in enemies and amplifies the energy attacks, by holding Y. But be careful not to hold it for too long or your health will start to go down. You can dodge left or right by pressing either the left or right triggers respectively, or just flicking the right thumbstick in the respective direction, and you can access your inventory, missions, level map, and upgrade screen by pressing the back button. As well as this, while fighting enemies, a combo number will pop up and will increase the more attacks you dish out. When you either get hit or your combo timer runs out, you will then be given bonus XP depending on how high your combo was. Your general goal in the game is to go to one of many vast areas and complete your main mission, which can change from time to time in what to do, like finding a number of MacGuffins, killing tons of enemies, and more. As well as the main quest, you can also take on side quests by talking to people in villages who give you all manner of tasks like giving them certain items, achieving certain combo numbers, and so on. When exploring around the world, there are a few particular items to look out for. Firstly, there's scrap that can be found from killing enemies. These come in all sorts of varieties and can be used to either forge new weapons or weapons together to equip to get more powerful or extra bonuses, or you can get more gold from the shop hero by just selling the scrap. Speaking of which, gold is also earned from killing enemies or selling items, and is used to either buy stuff in the shops scattered around the world, such as food to refill your health, weapon upgrades, and armor, or more, or to pay blacksmiths to forge items for you. Then there's the treasure keys, which are found in secret areas and are used to open up treasure chests to get tons of gold, bonus items, food, and more. And finally, there are the power orbs, which when collected can give you a brand new ability to use for the rest of the game, such as more energy attacks, new combos, a double jump, and so on. Now, despite the reputation this game's gotten in the indie community and how repressive an effort like this is, as I'll get to later on, that doesn't give it a free pass on all accounts, since there are some problems with it. Firstly, the music is pretty forgettable. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, it's generally pretty good and it fits the mood of the levels well enough, but there aren't really any catchy or memorable themes that'll stick in your mind long after you finish the game off. As well as that, there are also some sections that can get pretty damn annoying, mostly due to the fact that when you get hit, you're knocked back a few feet, which can get really bloody annoying if you're on a hazard-heavy section, since then you're just gonna get knocked back again and again and again. Another problem is that things can get really freaking hectic to the point where you have to deal with what seems like thousands of enemies at once. It's easy at times for you to lose sight of where you are, meaning that you can get rushed by enemies if you're not careful, and that if you're playing on heck even normal, prepare for some seriously challenging battles, especially by the time the end game rolls around. Now, if there is any part of Dust that I seriously dislike, it would probably be the game's third chapter. I won't spoil the plot details, but what essentially happens is that you constantly backtrack through a large but visually dull environment in order to retrieve a number of MacGuffins to save the day. While the plot resolution in this chapter is pretty heartwarming, it honestly doesn't make up for the last 2 hours of gameplay wasted spent going back and forth across the same boring labyrinth of a level over and over again. However, even with these problems, it can't be denied that Dust is actually a very good game. Firstly, the graphics are unbelievably good. They're very colorful and gorgeous, several of the environments have a great attention to detail, and the animation is equally impressive and great to look at. Needless to say, if you have a HD TV, the graphics are going to be frigging brilliant. Then there's the combat, which, while it is shallow and occasionally repetitive, is an absolute ton of fun. There's something just pleasingly cathartic about slashing hundreds of thousands of enemies to bits over and over again. In a way, the combat can be best summed up as a 2D hybrid of Dynasty Warriors and Devil May Cry. It may be very simple, but it's just a blast to perform all sorts of awesome looking combos and fly about the place slashing everyone to death. Another upside is the voice acting and the story. Unusually enough for a game of this sort, there are actually a lot of relatively well-known indie voice actors such as Elysian Tail, Amber Lee Connors, Kim Lin Tran, and more, and they overall give pretty damn good performances, which is a godsend since, considering the kind of story this game tries to tell, could have been much, much worse. Speaking of which, the story is also quite good. Yes, it's yet another hero with amnesia story, but it's done in a way that it doesn't feel cliched or boring. Our hero doesn't do too much angsting, a very typical trait of amnesiac protagonists. The characters are compelling and quite funny, especially the most likely insane Fidget, and the overall plot is damn good, never feeling tired or seen it all before, and actually very moving in some parts. As well as that, it's also very satisfying to explore the beautiful world and reach areas you couldn't get to previously. Yes, it's a common trait of Metroidvania games anyways, but it's still awesome nonetheless to go back to old areas and find new secrets with the powers you've gained since the beginning of the game. Another aspect of exploring these areas are the side quests, which are varied, fun, and more often than not, very, very loony. And finally, and I have to say this eventually, with the exception of the music and voices, this entire game, the programming, the art assets, the level designs, and so forth, all of this was made by one single man. That is undoubtedly one of the coolest things in the world. It's something that was made by just one man, could easily stand up to, and heck, even surpass efforts done by teams filled with tens, maybe hundreds of people. I mean, no matter what way you look at it, it's just really impressive. Dust and Elysian Tail is a very good, undoubtedly impressive game with beautiful and colorful graphics, brilliant if shallow combat, satisfying exploration, very silly but fun side quests, a quite good and moving story and characters, and pretty damn good acting. However, it's let down by forgettable if good music, some pretty damn annoying sections, a lot of very hectic and insane battles later on, and a very dull, irritating third chapter. Despite its problems, if you're a fan of Metroidvania titles, 2D platformers, hack and slashers, or all of the above, I highly recommend you buy Dust off XBLA, or heck even Steam since it's coming out pretty soon on that, if you can. Believe me, you won't regret it. This game gets a rating of very good. A great game, let down by a few irritating problems. I'm Father Dugan 9000, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Until we meet again, have a great day, y'all!
The lights of Elysium shine upon me, but can they reach the darkness within you?